We all compare ourselves to other people. We all do it. And now with all these platforms out there and social media, it's at an absolute frantic level. And so I'm going to give you 3 tips to stop comparing yourselves to other people so that you can start focusing on what your definition of success and happiness is without the worry about what other people are doing. Hey everyone, my name's Michael and this is The Real Shift. Thanks so much for joining me. I help people to move inward so that they can live a life expanded. And in this episode, we're talking about comparing ourselves to others and how damaging it can actually be. I'll tell you the real problem here, and I'm quite passionate about this. People are projecting a manicured reality which is totally false. And they're essentially creating their own story and how they would like to be seen to the external world. And I've definitely been guilty of this in the past as well. What we're actually doing is we are gauging how we're feeling inside about ourselves, our self-worth, in comparison to the highlights reel of somebody else. I'll give you a couple of examples. So I might start to compare my financial situation with somebody else's. And that somebody else might be maybe a friend of mine who's just purchased a seaside property that overlooks the ocean, overlooking an infinity pool where they're lying down, maybe drinking a cocktail, and they've got this awesome photo and there's actually a sunset and everything looks totally perfect and pristine. And now I can't help but start to think, man, I'm the same age as this person and they've achieved all of that. And I'll start to question my own financial situation and maybe I need to be a little bit further ahead in life. I might compare the depth of my relationship to my wife based on a couple that continually projects an incredible public intimacy to everybody else. And so I start to think, man, maybe our relationship needs to be more intimate. Maybe it's not right and it needs to be molded in a totally different direction. We compare ourselves to other people to feel better, but what we're actually doing is we're actually making ourselves feel worse. When we basically have absolutely no definition of what success and happiness means to us, then the only thing we can do is have a look at other people's definitions and society's definitions of what success and happiness is. So you can see that we will get lost in these kind of constructs or ideas of what success and happiness is, but it may not be true to us. And this is where people just totally get lost in it. I'll give you an example of this. Let's just say that my family is a really academic family, and my mum's a doctor, my dad's a lawyer, and my brothers and sisters have all got degrees. Now, if I don't have a reference of what success and happiness is internally, then naturally I'm just going to compare myself to my brothers and sisters, and on top of that, the pressure from my mum and dad to really move up to that level is going to be really strong, and I'm going to feel it a lot more. But what if my passion had nothing to do with gaining a degree? What if I'm a real outdoorsy sort of person and I really like, let's just say, mountain biking, for example, and I just love getting on my mountain bike and I was really, really talented at it. But I've just sort of forced myself through this path of maybe feeling pressure to move into getting a degree so that I can then potentially feel successful and happy because I have no reference of it. So this brings me to tip number 1, and that is to define what success and happiness is to you. So I can't even stress this enough. You need to make sure that this is an absolute priority. This is the most important thing that you can do. Because if we don't have a definition, then we're going to be grasping at other people's ideas. And so you can break this down into different categories, and I suggest that you do. And I like to break it down into a few different categories. One of them might be finances, my physical body, spiritual, family, and career. There's some really broad, nice categories that you can sort of collate together to form, in each one of those categories, form what you define as being success and happiness. Because it's no good you chasing someone else's idea of, let's just say, attaining 10 investment properties, when actually all you really want is to have a nice little self-sustainable shack on a 40-acre block where you can just cultivate your own garden, and that will bring you happiness. Maybe deep down, your definition of your family life, or a really happy and successful family life, is completely different to your friend's definition. Maybe they're more interested in a highly decorated career, and you're more interested in cultivating a nice little family environment where maybe you do some traveling and maybe impart some knowledge on cultural differences. So once you've defined what success and happiness is to you, you need to write it down. You need to get it onto a piece of paper at the very least. And I don't mean just writing it up here, I mean actually physically writing it down. Put it next to your bed so you can see it every day. And then you're totally getting to the point of embodying this definition. And if you have a partner, maybe you want to integrate it together and work together on this. And when you've got that vision and you see it every single morning when you wake up, then it'll naturally become part of who you are as a person, and you won't be grasping at other people's ideas of what success and happiness is. So you may not believe it, but you actually have certain strengths which act like a superpower. And if you can find out what they are, this will help you to narrow your field of view. So you'll have like blinkers on, racehorses, they have the blinkers on. So you'll have a total focus towards your strengths and not be distracted by other things that you're not entirely interested in, that other people are succeeding in. So that way you become a real specialist at your strengths. So how do you find out what your strengths are? The best way you can actually find this out is to ask your friends. So ask your closest friends, what are my strengths? And write them down and get a few different reference points. So ask different friends, and then you'll collate all this information, get it onto a piece of paper. You'll be surprised how it feels when you actually write them down and you see the different aspects of what you're good at, and that is perceived by other people or your closest friends, how powerful that actually is. It will totally lift you up because you will already know this, but when you see it, there'll be certain ones that you've written down that go, oh yeah, I guess so. I guess that I'm really strong in that area, but you just haven't put it into your field of view before. So step number 3, take action. So the world wants you to shine. The world wants you to be yourself. If you're trying to be somebody else, you just get caught out. Every single time, people can just see straight through it. So you might as well just try to find out who you are as a person, what your actual strengths are, so that you can then channel them into something that you're passionate about. Imagine you lived your whole life and you got to the age of, say, 75 or 80, and you're lying in your bed and you're just thinking, man, I wish I had pursued, say, photography, for example, because I really did have a passion in it, but I just never thought that I could make money out of it. So put all of that to the side, put the financial gain to the side, and actually just focus on what your strengths are and just start small, but take action. And this is what some people are always afraid of, but you don't need to take massive action. You just need to take small steps and just start to feel into it. See how it feels actually moving into that space. Because what you'll find, if it is truly your strength, you'll actually find that it naturally flows for you. It'll just naturally flow. It'll be energizing. You'll enjoy the process. And then from there, it might just manifest into something a little bit bigger. So one of the biggest benefits of actually taking yourself through these steps is that when you know what you stand for, you are then free to cheer other people on. So you can actually become a free supporter for everybody else because you're not attached to them or their outcomes. And in a way, as bad as it sounds, sometimes we hope that people fall down so that we can feel better about ourselves. And as bad as that sounds, it's the truth. So many people do it. And so when you actually are so comfortable in what you define as being success and happiness, you don't care about everyone else's goals because you're just happy in your own definition. So that's where the magic lies, because then you don't want to compare yourself to other people because you don't care, right? So it's all gone. So then now you're free. You can just sort of say, hey man, I'm just stoked at what you're doing. It's really, really inspiring, whatever it is. So wrapping it all up, in order to stop comparing yourself to other people, you need to go through 3 different steps. The first step is defining what success means to you. So break down those categories, have a look at them all and write it down, put it next to your bed, look at it every single morning that you wake up. Step number 2, find your superpowers. Ask your friends, write them down, have a look at them, let them empower you. And then step 3 is simply to take action. Doesn't need to be massive action, just a small bits if you like at the start, just so you can start to feel into it. And then finally, as a bonus, you just get freed up and you can cheer everyone else on. If you want to take finding your superpower to the next level, what I would suggest is going to therealshift.com and having a look at the fundamental basics of meditation video that I've put together. It's free, you can check it out, and basically I teach you how to access a meditative state without any guidance. So you won't have to follow any voices or music or anything like that, but sitting in your own silence. Now the power of that is that you'll actually tune into your intuitive self so that you can it will really help and take it to the next level in terms of finding that strength within yourself so that you can get more clarity in moving forward and have more of a focused approach. Guys, I'd really appreciate it if you did subscribe to this YouTube channel. This is a passion of mine, clearly, and I'm just hoping to get this message out to other people. So if it really resonates, make sure you subscribe, share it around. I really appreciate it. So that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers.